Hola chicos, vamos a continuar con los adjetivos. First off, let's remind ourselves, what are adjectives? These are the words that describe nouns. We've got some different examples here that we started learning in Español 1A. Víctor es muy guapo. Mis clases son difíciles, pero interesantes. La señora Hall es una profesora muy estricta. So those are some old examples, but for this unit of food, we're going to have a new set of adjectives that we're going to be practicing with. We have bueno, buena, caliente, delicioso, deliciosa, dulce, frío o fría, malo, mala, picante, poco saludable, rico o rica, sabroso, sabrosa, salado, salada, saludable. And we'll be adding more throughout the unit. You'll actually see more in our activity that we have kind of a little bit later today. So you can be adding them and actually writing them on your vocab list. So there are a few things that we need to keep in mind when we're using adjectives, and it's something that's harder for native English speakers to be working with because it's just something that your brain's not trained to do. So you have to make sure that your adjectives agree in number and in gender with the nouns that they're describing. We don't have gender for most nouns in English, so that's one thing to keep in mind, and it's harder to keep in mind. We also have to make sure that our adjectives are plural if the nouns are plural. El hombre es reservado, that is both singular and masculine, so we have reservado end in just an O. La mujer es reservada. La mujer is singular and feminine, so we have reservada end in just an A. Los hombres son reservados. Now we have a group of men. They're all masculine. And so we have reservados ending in OS. Las mujeres son reservadas. We have a group of women. So we're going to have reservadas ending in AS. To make an adjective plural, remember to add an S to words that end in a vowel. Think inteligentes is an example. Reservado is another example. Reservada is another example. You're going to add ES to words ending in a consonant, such as fácil. So, las clases son fáciles. Adjectives have to agree in number and gender with the nouns they're describing. Remember, here are some examples of endings that only work for masculine nouns. These are the o or dor. If you make them plural, it'd be os, dores. Feminine endings would be a and dora, or as and doras. And then the ones in the middle here could work for both masculine and feminine nouns. Think inteligente, inteligentes. Deportista, deportistas. Fácil, fáciles. Adjectives are going to go after the noun that they're describing. That's another rule that we have to keep in mind. So instead of saying the shy man, we're going to say the man shy. Él es un hombre reservado. Instead of saying the smart woman, here we're going to say the woman smart. Ella es una mujer inteligente. Instead of saying the good-looking guys, we're going to say the guys good-looking. Los hombres guapos están jugando al fútbol. Instead of saying some strong women, we're going to say some women really strong. Mi madre y mi abuela son unas mujeres muy fuertes. Some other things to keep in mind. Many times when we're describing, we're going to be using the verb ser. Soy, eres, es. Somos, sois, son. Soy, eres, es. Somos, sois, son. We're going to use the verb ser with more permanent characteristics. So when we're talking about foods, this is going to be what we use to describe how food usually tastes. Las papas fritas de McDonald's son saladas. The use of ser tells us that French fries are normally salty. Las tartas de queso de Cheesecake Factory son muy sabrosas. The use of ser implies that the cheesecakes are always tasty. La ensalada de papas es fría. The use of ser tells us that the potato salad is cold. It's a cold dish. We could also possibly use the verb estar, which tells us to be, but is for more temporary characteristics. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. We're going to use estar to describe how food tastes in your mouth right now. Las tartas de queso de Cheesecake Factory están muy sabrosas esta noche. When we use estar here, this implies that cheesecakes are tasty or especially tasty tonight. Las papas fritas de McDonald's están muy saladas. Here, when we use estar, we're implying that the French fries are especially salty right now. La comida ya está fría. We are going to use estar here to say that the food is cold now, though it was hot before. So, some lesson takeaways. When you use adjectives, they have to agree number and gender with the noun that they're describing. That means you're going to have to adjust the ending of the adjective. So if it's a masculine noun, if it's a feminine noun, you need to keep in mind to change the O to an A or the door to a dora or vice versa. Add an S or add an ES. And then there are some that work for both. If it ends in an E or an ista, or if it ends in il, such as fácil or difícil or juvenil, you're going to add an S, add an ES if it ends in a consonant. The adjectives have to go after the noun they're describing. La salsa picante está en la mesa. This is hot sauce. Hot sauce is on the table. We're going to use ser or estar when using adjectives to describe the foods. Soy, eres, es. Somos, sois, son. Estoy, estás, está. Estamos, estáis, están. And then these are the adjectives that we're going to be practicing with this week. And throughout the unit, these are going to be the adjectives that help us to describe foods. And we'll be adding more throughout the unit as well. When you find something that you use quite frequently, go ahead and write it onto your vocab list. And that's the end of